Globalization, free trade, giant foreign factories. We hear these words and we instantly picture exploitation. We picture vulnerable workers just getting crushed, right? But hold on. The data tells a completely different story. What if the exact forces we assume destroy lives actually gave millions of women their very first taste of real power? Today, we're looking at a massive clash. What we feel is true versus what the numbers actually prove. Let's dive into this explainer.
Did free trade actually exploit Mexican women? When NAFTA hit in the 1990s, the assumption was totally simple. Opening the floodgates to global trade would hurt the poorest. And historically, female factory workers were seen as the most vulnerable of all. It's a super compelling narrative. It feels right. But honestly, we don't care about what feels right. We care about the hard evidence.
So here is the ultimate reality check. It's a total battle between bias and truth. We think free trade exploits the vulnerable, but the hard data proves that in this specific case, free trade empowered women. It didn't just protect them, it actively elevated them. This completely shatters the popular myth. Let's let the numbers prove it.
Section 1. Data beats myth.
Think about it. If women were being ruthlessly exploited during the NAFTA trade boom, their wages should have absolutely crashed compared to men. But guess what? The female-to-male wage ratio did the exact opposite. Researchers tracked the timeline of the 1990s trade boom, and during the biggest economic shock in Mexico's history, women's relative wages didn't just survive, they climbed, steadily upward. No exploitation here. And check this out. It wasn't just women who already had jobs who benefited. 13.4%. According to the census data, the employment-to-population ratio for women literally surged by 13.4 percentage points during the 90s. More women entered the workforce than ever before. The supply of female workers exploded, yet their relative wages still went up. In the real world, that only happens if the demand for their work is absolutely skyrocketing.
Section 2. Macro Industry Reshuffle.
So how did this happen? Think of it as a giant domino effect. Step 1. U.S. tariffs get slashed across the board. Suddenly, exporting goods from Mexico is dirt cheap. Step 2. Industries like clothing, textiles, and tech absolutely explode to meet this massive new foreign demand. Step 3. The demand for female labor spikes. Why? Because the specific industries that blew up happen to already rely heavily on women.
The connection here is undeniable. Think about this comparison. In 1990, the clothing industry workforce was already over 55% female. Under NAFTA, their export tariffs dropped by nearly 13%. Now compare that to textile mill products. That sector only had a 30% female share, and it saw just a 6% tariff drop. The industries that saw the most aggressive tariff cuts were the exact same ones already dominated by women. The global economy basically handed a massive lottery ticket to female-heavy sectors.
Section 3. Microtech boon.
Now let's zoom in on the factory floor. The old setup? It was all about physical brawn, heavy lifting, pure muscle. Historically, that heavily favored male workers. But the new export tech? A total game changer. It was all about cognitive skill and extreme precision. Brains over muscle. To compete globally, these factories couldn't just rely on clunky old-school machinery. They had to modernize, and that required a completely different skill set.
We call this the tech upgrade. As those export tariffs fell, firms bought modern equipment. They swapped out brute manual labor for precise cognitive tasks, and the data shows this upgrade heavily favored skilled blue-collar women. The new machines didn't need you to be physically huge. They needed serious attention to detail. Upgrading the tech instantly created a massive hiring spike for female workers.
Section 4. Family purse strings.
This is where it gets really interesting. When women started earning more, household spending completely transformed. Between 1992 and 2000, the family ledger literally moved. Spending on men's clothing? Down. Spending on alcohol and tobacco? Down. But spending on women's clothing went up. And most importantly, spending on children's education went way up. The money shifted right away from dad's vices and straight into the kids' future.
This right here is the profound aha moment. Economic earnings aren't just numbers on a paycheck. They directly translate into real-life household bargaining power. More money in the factory literally equals more power at the kitchen table. Because the wife was finally bringing home a larger share of the income, she got a much louder voice in how that money was spent. Free trade didn't just give women jobs, it gave them agency.
Section 5. Limits and impact.
Now, to be fair, here are the study's blind spots. First, it focuses heavily on full-time workers.
Second, it largely ignores the massive informal sector where millions of people just operate under the radar. And third, it excludes the unique constraints faced by self-employed women. So no, this data doesn't mean everything was perfect for absolutely everyone. But it does mean that in the formal manufacturing sector, the trend was undeniably massively positive.
And that leads us to this incredibly powerful quote from Nobel laureate Esther Duflo. Empowerment of women can accelerate development. Empowering women isn't just about fairness, guys. It isn't just a nice social justice goal. It is a massive, tangible economic accelerator. When women get paid, the money goes to the kids get educated, the next generation gets smarter, healthier, and way more productive. Free trade, in this instance, triggered an entire generational upgrade.
Which leaves us with a final, highly provocative thought. If the hard data proves that free trade empowered women in 1990s Mexico, totally defying the popular myth, where else is this silent revolution happening right now? Which other developing nations are seeing women quietly take the power back at the kitchen table, all because of a global supply chain? It's absolutely something to think about the next time you hear someone automatically condemn global trade. Keep questioning the consensus.